In the many experiences of Roblox, there exists a funny game called Forsaken. To describe it in punctilious detail, So yeah, that is Forsaken for you. Now onto the premier pumpkin-headed wizard poet himself. For most people, playing Dusekkar is an idea which seldomly should be executed. Not because he is subpar or anything. In fact, he can be responsible for providing some sick moments or even the game victory when played well. The issue at hand here is that not dying immediately with them is harder than it should be, and I, Dusekkar Duncan, will showcase you the art of surviving longer than 30 seconds in a round playing with him. Here are some habits you should adopt when playing this funny-looking, though eloquent sorcerer. At the beginning of the round, conceal yourself from the killer until you see them chasing someone. Alternatively, you can stop hiding when any one of your fellow survivors, indicated by the left HUD, takes damage. Afterwards, even before you begin supporting people, scavenge around the map for Bloxy-Colas and medkits. Since Dusekkar lacks any sustainability during chases, you ought to acquire items which mitigate your weaknesses. For some example locations, there's almost always a Bloxy-Cola within this glass tower and glass houses, one or two on the mansion table at Yorick's resting place, and for one last spot, usually one in this corner of Horror Hotel. The most important thing to recognize is that your existence alone puts any killer in slight vexation. Accordingly, you have to maintain good distance through both the killer and whoever you are supporting. Importantly, keep a good amount of stamina in reserve in case the killer decides you're too much of a bother to be kept alive. Onto which, in the event of a chase, refrain from using any of your abilities. You might be tempted to use Plasma Beam to slow down the killer, though distance reigns kings over applying debuffs. Only consider doing so if the pursuer makes a bodacious blunder, like Cool Kid missing his walk speed override to slide several studs elsewhere. If in an unfortunate situation a survivor runs towards you when shielding them, break it as fast as possible, even when you're a fair distance away. During a round, if the only people alive is you and someone who is inexperienced, i.e. someone who has less than a day or two of playtime, do not be afraid to leave them in the dust with the killer. Do not feel too guilty, as there is always next round to play. Now, what about those spells I mentioned earlier? Were not, they shall be elaborated upon. Compared to most other survivor abilities, Spawn Protection and Plasma Beam each have short cooldowns. Furthermore, Spawn Protection can be recasted in 35 seconds, while Plasma Beam can be used in 25. With this in mind, you should be avoiding generators and applying buffs to your survivors more often. However, if both your abilities are on cooldown, feel free to complete some generator puzzles to lower the round timer. On to specifics, Spawn Protection gives a massive resistance buff to anyone you shield, similar to giving an instant 80 points of health to the patient. As long as you can see the survivor, you can assist them through walls or obstacles, like this spot in Brendan works. If you see someone getting chased, backed into a corner, or just with their abilities close quarters, give them protection if you're able to do so. Oh, by the way, the shield does not cap at 275 studs in the range like it says. In actuality, its range reaches to infinity. Better yet, it just removes the tracer beam beyond 275 studs, no longer compromising your location. For the case of Plasma Beam, you generally want to fire at the killer as opposed to the survivor. Granting them slowness 2 for 3 seconds, it will allow the survivor to temporarily outrun the assailant. If you're curious why you should not prioritize firing at the survivor, it is because the speed 1 buff is rarely enough for the survivor to outrun the killer. If you're in a good position, try firing the beam simultaneously at the killer and the survivor. The differences in speed will make chasing the survivor nigh impossible for the opponent. Occasionally, more stationary killers like John Doe and 1x1x1x1 can be taken advantage of, with them being easy targets for the Plasma Beam, allowing the chase survivor to escape easier yet again. Lastly, when aiming, the beam fires at the tip of the staff. To compensate, you just have to aim partially more to the left. Getting into a position for using these mojos, vast spaces or high ground is where you should locate yourself. From these places, you can maximize your support, giving you now supreme sightlines and safety in tandem. Spots I especially recommend is on the top of the castle in Brendan Works and the cliff in Glass Houses. If you are stuck in Planet Voss, pray to soul-driven love that is not selected again for a long while. Now, if you still lose rounds as Dusekkar despite these tips, do not beat yourself up about it. After all, this is not gospel information, just advice which makes you not lose immediately. Additionally, if you have knowledge to share regarding usage of this gourd magician, please do so if you wish. Though remember this, the scariest Dusekkar that a killer can face is one that never gives up, no matter how devastating the L may be. Either that, or wherever this is. Anyhow, happy blasting.